welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackmine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 1-3 now heading into week 5, a disappointing loss to the New York Jets, but one that I think might have brought a little light that the Steelers needed as they approach the toughest part of the schedule. A win is always better than a loss, but sometimes, you got to look at the intangibles. It's a beautiful day. It's a cold day here in the Burgh. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. Tired. It was a long weekend, but no, lots to talk about. I'm excited. Yesterday was a loss, but a little shot in the arm, maybe a little bit more excitement, maybe. You never like to lose, but I think the way they lost yesterday was at least a little bit more interesting than the way they've lost in the past.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think that you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now and you think that going into yesterday, it was, man, how disappointing can this season get? And now it's, okay, things have happened. The change has been made. Steelers fans got what they wanted. I think if anything, the spark that it provided to the crowd was so significant that it gave this season something to look forward to, because you heard it. I mean, the boos were loud and they were only growing louder all throughout the first half. And then Kenny Pickett comes out there, and even when they didn't succeed, like there were parts where, Kenny would throw an interception and the crowd would make sure that they were loud on defense to kind of help this team out, where when Mitch was in there, it was almost like they were like, I kind of hope that everybody screws up so that they could bench Mitch Trubisky and put Kenny Pickett in there. So it was the first time, I think, in a long time, or at least this season, that, you looked at this team and you felt somewhat good about it. Do you mind the interceptions? Do you mind the play of Kenny Pickett? Do you think he did enough to impress you?
Well, you mind them, obviously, because a couple of them were pretty bad. I felt like that one to Freiermuth along the sideline is one that can't happen. Even if you're trying to throw it away or whatever, that one can't really happen. I don't mind the aggressiveness. You kind of have to reset your expectations with a rookie back there. He was certainly the spark, I guess. We're going to use that word about 1,800 times, this week. He certainly was the spark, I think, that you wanted. He was more accurate than Mitch. He made some nice throws. He obviously has a good rapport with George Pickens, at least. So, I kind of forget what the question was, but I was impressed by a lot of the things that he did, especially, for a guy who came in at halftime and had to, a rookie making his first appearance in the NFL. That was encouraging. There were some things to build on, some things to grow on. I think the offense is kind of getting to a point where they're ready to kind of take on what Kenny can do. I think they were definitely kind of growing into themselves, and there was some encouraging signs even before Kenny came in. So I think he's lucky to be kind of taking over the offense where it is now, versus, taking it over where it was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think that it was still the right move to start Mitch Trubisky. I'm not going to remove myself from that notion, but at the same time, I didn't like the fact that he came in. I mean, you can't have super high expectations for somebody to come in and their first NFL game is down by 4 points at halftime, walking into the game and just like it, there was no preparation. It wasn't like, oh, this game plan's designed for you. It's okay, look, the starting quarterback isn't getting it done. You're in at halftime. And from what I've heard and from what everybody has said, the conversation was 8's in at quarterback. Like, I can't even imagine being like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I'm sure that he was, and he definitely looked like he was, but you can't expect a perfect game from here on out. And truthfully, I think that he did enough. He had those bad interceptions, but I think those are ones you learn off of. That throw to Pat Freiermuth could have been a little higher, but still bounced off Freiermuth's hands. You got to catch that one. Chase Claypool, there's a comment in here. I personally, what I saw from Chase Claypool yesterday is that his time on the field needs to be more limited then expanded, and that was my expectation coming in here for him, is that I didn't think Chase Claypool was going to take a step forward this season, and he clearly has not. On top of that, you ran the football, you got the spark, you saw the offense click. George Pickens was involved. It was all the things that you were screaming as a Steelers fan for 3 weeks to get done. Kenny Pickett comes in and immediately starts making these things happen. Let me ask this question, because this is a question I was wondering all day long. Do you think Matt Canada was calling the plays in the second half, or do you think Mike Sullivan was?
I mean,
there was a lot of Mike Sullivan and Kenny Pickett chat going on between plays on the sideline. A lot of pictures of them this morning, the two of them next to each other.
I don't, it's hard to speculate on that. I can't imagine Matt Canada wasn't calling the plays. I mean, I feel like if he's going to be your offensive coordinator, he has to call the plays. If you're not going to, if he wasn't calling the plays, I feel like we would know. We'd know very explicitly that there's no reason to hide something like that. If he's going to be your offensive like if he's not going to call the plays, then you've got to publicly come out and say, look, this guy's not cutting it. He's not calling our plays. Because if you
have to do that though,
if
you're the Steelers, would you even expect them to do that?
Well, what's the point of covering for Matt Canada's ass if he's not calling your plays or doing anything productive for you?
Just a respect thing, just a Pittsburgh Steelers, this is what we do type of thing.
Well,
they've never fired a coordinator in 15 years.
Yeah, that seems even stupider or sillier, I guess. Just like, yeah, it just seems silly to like cover for this guy if he's not meeting your standard, or to show that guy that respect. Like it'd be more respectful to, tell everyone publicly about what he's doing for you and how his roles and what his role is like. That it is one thing to not cover for a guy, but to respect him publicly and to say when he's being criticized that we believe in him and we trust him. It is another thing to just kind of lie and like let him put on this facade of an offensive coordinator while he's not actually your offensive coordinator. That seems even more ridiculous. And if I was Matt Canada, I'd be more offended by that. I would rather you just be honest with everyone. If I'm not actually calling the plays, I would rather you not hide that. Do you
like really do you wish that? Would you wish that if you were Matt Canada? Think about that, because if it comes out that you're not calling the plays on offense, you're basically just there to look good and be a face, then who's going to hire you next? The guy that, and like, what if the offense clicks? If the offense clicks and things start going well and you're Matt Canada, you're not doing anything, your next job might be lining up. People might actually be like, oh, okay, look at it. He actually did something here, instead of, oh, he wasn't calling plays. Now he gets fired. Now he doesn't have a job ever again.
Well, yeah, people might think that until they ask around the Steelers and you go through the interview process and you have to be like, well, I actually wasn't calling the plays when we actually started to move the ball and play really well. And that's like,
do you think that would happen though? Mike Tomlin called defensive plays for like 10 years with Keith Butler there, and it was known, but it wasn't known. It was always, a Tomlinism about how we collectively create a game plan, and I feel like that would be the same question, are the same responses. Oh, we collectively come up with the game plan, not Matt just sat there, did nothing.
So can I ask, was that how it went all season?
No. I think just yesterday. Oh, will they ask that? Yeah, I think that would be the response.
What you were talking about with Tomlin, Tomlin and Keith Butler, was Tomlin calling the plays all year?
Tomlin called the plays in Keith Butler's entire career.
Yeah,
he still calls the plays today.
That's different from kind of making a switch mid-season to take away play calling abilities from Matt Canada.
But I just think
that Matt Canada also has to come out and answer questions about his play calling during the week.
Hey, Keith Butler did it every single week. Every single week, Keith Butler did it and took blame for bad defense time and time again. But like, if you're Matt Canada and the offense makes good and starts playing well, don't you want to come out here and answer good questions and be like, wow, this is actually a change. Look at this. Instead of coming out and being like, yeah, we can't run the ball. We never use the middle of the field. Our offense sucks.
It would make me uncomfortable to steal credit for something I wasn't responsible for.
Yeah, but I don't think the Steelers have ever thought that way. I just don't.
Maybe not.
That's that they've just from what the history has shown about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers organization is just, they'll work their way around it because secrets don't get out of this organization. And if they believe that Mike Sullivan's the better play caller, and I don't know if he did call those plays, but man, that offense, I mean, Pat Freiermuth was utilized a lot. George Pickens was utilized a lot. Najee Harris was utilized in the correct manner a lot. You ran with a quarterback. None of it was this is the same offense we pulled out here in the first half. So, I mean, if Matt Canada was calling those plays, do you look at this and say, maybe he got a talking to at halftime from Mike Tomlin about like, hey man, get your stuff together. Otherwise you're gone because this is ridiculous.
Did he need that conversation? Because that's almost even more concerning. Like, are you telling me they had all of this in their back pocket prior to putting in Kenny Pickett and just didn't feel the need to use it? Like that would be even more ridiculous to me, that Matt Canada needed a talking to. Matt Canada needed a talking to after his team was averaging 18 points a game through 3 weeks or whatever. Like that would be pretty ridiculous to me. So I don't know. It did seem like the Steelers were doing something different. I'd have to imagine, just because of how it changed when Kenny came in, that they trust Kenny to do those types of things more than Mitch, which I think says a lot about what they thought about Mitch, quite honestly.
If that's the case, then yes, but like, there's nothing about what I know about the NFL that says, oh, a rookie quarterback came in at halftime and the offense was suddenly more open than the guy that won the quarterback competition, signed a $14 million deal to come here and started the first 4 games. Like, that's just, to me, that's just like, why did they hold back? Why would they be like, okay, Kenny, you got it, man. Go out there and do it. And then he threw an interception. You're like, keep it going. Don't hold back now. Just keep it going. Like, there's just nothing about that makes any sense to me. So I don't know. I thought the whole time I haven't heard anything steady or sturdy, but I'm definitely not the only one with rumbles of maybe this was a Mike Sullivan play call in the second half. And maybe it was just to the fact of, Kenny's more familiar with Mike Sullivan and has worked with him, because that's what rookie quarterbacks do, is they work with their quarterback coach more than anybody else. But I don't know. And I get like, oh, this is some serious speculation, no doubt. But I mean, if you watched that football game and said, oh, Matt Canada did a good job in the second half, and it didn't cross your mind that maybe somebody else was calling the plays, you haven't watched the Steelers football game for the last 4 weeks. Or, maybe I'm just a little naive, but I don't know. I'm skeptical about it. Answer a couple of questions here. Gunner, awful day. I would say awful season so far for the guy that came here with high expectations to be a punt returner. I was shocked to see him back out there after he fumbled the ball. Do you think at any point somebody's like, maybe Steven Sims should get a helmet and actually play some football? And I think another question is, why is Gunner out there when they run the football? Why is it Miles Boykin and Gunner Olszewski out there in big man packages instead of, I don't know, George Pickens that could actually block with Miles Boykin?
Yeah, I could not tell you, like George Pickens, Claypool, like any of these guys. Like I don't know. That was really weird. And just special teams mistakes are the kind of thing that this team seriously cannot avoid, or cannot afford, more than kind of anything that they do. When you are such a flawed football team in other areas, special teams like catching the ball, possessing the ball is something that you can really control. And if Gunner's just not cutting it in that department, so. No. Yeah, I'd have to imagine that they give Steven Sims at least a look, because I don't know what Gunners look like in practice, but like the in-stadium results are just not there.
But that's the thing, is like what is practice for a punt and kick returner? Like nothing. Most of the time, it's a jugs machine just shooting the ball 60 feet in the air, you got to catch it. There's nobody in your face almost ever. It's probably the easiest practice you'll go through. I think I thought after the first one against New England, I thought, okay, you're going to give him another shot, nerves, maybe, whatever. After this one, I was like, there's no way he's going back out there. And I don't know how quickly Calvin Austin's going to return, but I think you got to give Steven Sims a chance at some point just to see what he's got. Like, you don't need anybody to, you don't need anybody in Pittsburgh to take every punt back for a touchdown. What you need is somebody to catch a football correctly and confidently and not do things like let a ball bounce on the 40-yard line because you think that for some reason that's going to go into the end zone. Like,
right. There were other decisions. It wasn't just the mob. There were other decisions where he backed off of one, where he backed off of the ball. And it was like, why are you not attacking that ball, fielding it at least, and making sure it can't bounce anymore? Even if you're not going to get a huge return out of it, just you can make more positive plays than it looks like, or you can prevent more negative plays.
Yes. Just be safe, be Ryan Switzer. At the end of the day, if that's all you are, is a fair catch machine, be a fair catch machine. That's all they're looking for. That's all they're looking for. All right, let's talk more football. Crystal, I appreciate the tip. Yep.
Yeah, we have the power to tear the Steelers apart, apparently.
That's I don't know. I get it. Yeah, like, cool. Sounds good. I've been speaking well. Lot of hate on Najee Harris, or at least some hate on Najee Harris. I saw, my boy Jim Wexell. Shout out Jim Wexell. I love Jim Wexell, but he's a big Najee Harris critic. There's a lot of Najee Harris critics out there. Don't know why. I think Najee played fine. There was a couple of holes. There was one real big hole that he missed, but overall, 18 for 74 yards. In my head, that's a good game. I thought that the running game for the first time actually utilized open holes. They worked to the point where, you utilized pitches, and you needed to do something like that because everybody was clogging the box. I just looked at Najee Harris and said, you did what you needed to do. I never expect Najee Harris to be a, average 8 yards a run type of guy. He's 250 pounds. That's just not
right.
I just think that's it. So, I looked at Najee, thought he had a good game. A lot of people, no, don't believe, or don't feel the same way.
Yeah, that was like his best game of the season. So I don't really, or at least rush as far as running the ball. That was his best game of the season. I'd like to see how he does without an offensive line that's committing, so many drive killing penalties and just putting them behind schedule so often. I think that played a little bit of a role in it, but yeah, I thought he had a good game too. I don't really understand if you're going to hit on Najee. I don't know why this was the week to do it.
It's been every week. It's you're sitting there and people are like, oh, this isn't working. This isn't working. The biggest thing for me with Najee is that Najee started the season dealing with 2 foot injuries, which is not easy to do for a running back. And I get that the expectations were higher, but again, if you're averaging 4 yards a run, that's exactly what you're looking for in a power back. 4 yards a run. 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards is a first down. Keep it going. And I get this comment. I'd trade Najee Harris for Nick Chubb in a second. Yeah, who wouldn't? That's just
I'd trade Kenny Pickett.
Sense.
I'd trade Kenny Pickett for Pat Mahomes too in a second. This is
2 seconds. Yeah, just it's not I don't understand the comparisons here. It's if you're not the absolute best at your position, you're terrible. That's 90% of the NFL isn't like that. Nick Chubb has looked like the best player in football. Exactly. You're not going to get the best player in football. And if your expectations are you need to be the best player in football or you're terrible, then your expectations are way too high for somebody, especially somebody whose offensive line is finally starting to click for the first time, who's had a terrible quarterback until 2 quarters ago, and who's been playing from behind. That's not I don't know. I just don't get the Najee Harris hate. I never have got the Najee Harris hate. I think it's just there. It's just play. It's like the Cam Sutton hate. People hate Cam Sutton constantly. He's not enough. He's not enough. He is enough. People just pick a player and apparently that player stinks. Mark Madden hating on Alex Highsmith is a prime example. No matter how good Alex Highsmith is this season, and he's phenomenal, Mark Madden will continue to hate on Alex Highsmith. I think people have attached themselves to Najee Harris in that same bit. And I mean, in my opinion, it's just unjustified.
Yeah. When it comes to being a first round pick, like you really got to perform if you're going to be a first round pick, but it's not like he's, I don't know. It's not like he's been awful, like there's been nothing about this team that has, he's not a perfect back, and there's nothing about this team through 4 weeks, I guess 3.5 quarters, I guess you could say that has made anything easy on him, I would say. He's kind of had to always kind of fight uphill all season long to be in this offense and to be productive in it.
Yeah, that's just, and that's been the entire offense. And now, I mean, I would say next week, that's a tough one. Buffalo, and we're going to get into Buffalo, but I don't know what my expectations are for next week. I would say Tampa Bay. If Najee could come in here and the offense could play well against Tampa Bay and he plays super well, I think we gotta just hang up all the Najee critics. And at the same time, Jaylen Warren played well, no doubt, but this is the first time Najee's got another back to rely on. And last year, he 1,200 yards behind the worst offensive line in football. I'm going to keep tossing that out there. I told everybody he was going to have a good game this week. Told you, and that's just, it's all about looking at what the trends, how things work, how a player works. And I think that's just who Najee Harris in this offense is. How much money do the Steelers need to get Lincoln Riley to Pittsburgh to coach up Kenny Pickett? I don't know if Lincoln Riley and Mike Tomlin are going to click at all. I think that would be scary.
Yeah, I cannot imagine why Lincoln Riley would leave his job at USC.
No.
To come to Pittsburgh.
No.
He's a college guy. He's doing well there. He will stay there as long as he can.
Yes, I agree. All right. Let's talk about the defensive side before we get into the future. What Kenny Pickett, the possible quarterback competition we're looking at this week. The defensive side of the ball, still terrible, I would say. Alex Highsmith had a game, but if you're not wrapping up the quarterback, I don't know what you're doing, and you're not playing perfect outside linebacker. And I'm not saying TJ Watt would have made all those tackles, but Alex Highsmith could have finished that game with 3 sacks and instead walked away with 1. My concerns with the defense is that it might be too late. Is that I look at this and say they are so beat up right now. They walked out of this game with 4 more injuries. It's concerning to say the least. And maybe they're too beat up at this point and they've played too much football through 4 games that an offensive fix is going to solve their issues.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're only going to get more beat up. Teams are learning how to beat this defense. You just wear them down. You kind of count on the offense not being particularly good and keeping the defense on the field for a while, and then by the 4th quarter you can just run all over them. So as long as you can keep things close, which has not been hard given the way the offense is played, you can just continue to sort of bully this team a little bit, especially because they're so beat up. So that's the thing. There's no kind of rest on the horizon or no opportunity to kind of take it easy and get guys back for a while until the bye week. So yeah, it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, it's tough to look at this group and say that they could win a football game for you if you need them to win a football game right now, because they just aren't showing that. They show that in the first half, but by the second half, they're exhausted. So does that change? I mean, Buffalo's a tough example, but moving forward, if Kenny Pickett's in there and the offense actually clicks, I mean, they had what, 15, 16 first downs yesterday? 20 first downs yesterday. Do you look at it and go, okay, maybe they aren't as tired moving forward by the end of a game?
Yeah, I think that could be possible. Like you said, Buffalo's a tough example, but Tampa doesn't scare me at all. Like Tampa's good, but they're not a world beater like the Bills are, or maybe even the Eagles might be this year. They're definitely a little vulnerable, and I think that will be a good litmus test, and I think that'll be a good time to say, can this, to judge whether or not the offense can move the ball enough to keep keep that defense fresh. But in an immediate short-term sense, like this is going to be a rough week, and someone's going to have to play a lot better than we expect them to if you're going to play that complementary football. If both sides are going to kind of live up to their potential, someone's going to have to really, really step up. Someone's going to have to play out of their mind. On offense or defense, either way, like someone's going to have to be that. Someone's going to have to step up and do it first for kind of everything else to fall into place.
I agree. I think that right now, Alex Highsmith and Minka are those guys, but you need somebody like Cam Hayward's got to be productive. Larry Ogunjobi's got to play a whole game. You know, Devin Bush and Miles Jack have played well, but there's just holes. Like Robert Spillane's should never be on the field, for being honest. Should never, ever be on the field if he's attempting to drop back into coverage. That's just not how it looks. Is it worth it? So you got to imagine this next stretch is going to be tough. And even if the Steelers come out of here 1-4, 1-3 in the next 4 games, you're at 2-6 heading into the bye. Is that a record worthy of bringing TJ Watt back? Or are you looking at this going, there's a chance TJ doesn't touch the field this season?
Yeah, 2-8 definitely makes it dicey. I think it matters how you lose these next few games. So what they're 1-3 now. So how you would lose those 3 games, and who you lose them to. Like if you beat the Bills and then lose the next 3 weeks, I think that's a little different than beating Miami, and losing to the other 3 teams. I think, if they like beat the Bills or the Eagles or something, then you say, okay, we've got some potential here. We can beat some of these, high level teams and actually make a run if you get to the playoffs, and there will be something worth it at the end of that. We have a chance to push for more. But yeah, if you're 2-6 with your 2 wins coming by the skin of your teeth against the Bengals and the Miami Dolphins or something, that to me does not feel worth it to bring TJ Watt back and risk re-aggravating a long-term injury for your best player. Right. That's fair to say. Your best player. That's
the easiest statement you could make about the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be tough, and skin of the teeth, I think, is a good way to put that, because I think if they come out here and they win one against, if they shock the world against Buffalo, I don't care what happens after that. You bring TJ Watt back. Mm-hmm. If you beat Tampa Bay and you feel confident about that win at home with Tampa Bay, you bring TJ Watt back. If you beat Tampa Bay and you beat Miami, even without Tua, you bring TJ Watt back, definitely.
Right.
But I think that's the thing, is if it's all close and you're just like, man, we're barely squeaking by, these wins are really not great, or how far can we possibly go? Yeah, then you hold TJ Watt back and you say, okay. But the bigger question here is the Steelers are 0-8 without TJ Watt. So is there actually a chance that they possibly win a game without him? Like if you're 0-8, 0-5 was like, oh, okay, it's a fun statistic. 0-7 was like, oh, okay. 0-8 with a loss to the Jets, you're like, oh, and maybe this is a thing. Maybe they'll never win a game without TJ Watt ever again. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's obviously some context to that. Like it's not. I don't think when they have lost those games, it's been the defense that had to win the game for them. So it makes sense why they would lose when TJ Watt's out. But that, to that end, it's not going to change, next week when they, or over the next few weeks when they have TJ out. Like the defense is still going to have to win games for them. So I think that's a perfectly fair question. I don't know if I can answer it. I don't want to count them out of any of these next few games, but it does make the job a lot harder.
It's a fun fact that you do not want to hear. And to this point, if the team doctors clear him, if TJ wants to play, I don't agree with that he definitely will play. Mike Tomlin gets the final word, and there's been instances where Mike Tomlin's final word has overruled things. And on top of that, TJ is going to work his way back from this injury as hard and as fast as humanly possible, no doubt. And if the season is still somewhat alive, they're going to put him out there easy. But if you're 1-8 walking into the bye week and your season's over, and you bring him back and he gets hurt again, and that's the beginning of the downfall, I get it. It might be a quote unquote waste of money, but the Steelers aren't thinking right now waste of money. What's the waste of money if they finish the season 3-13 or 3-14 instead of 5-12 with TJ Watt? I don't understand what the waste of money is there. It's just like like everything ethically. That's what it comes down to is the Steelers are business. You have to remove the emotion from the business at times. It's Mike Tomlin's worst thing about him is that he constantly removes the emotion from the business, and he always stays stubborn, and that's why he makes terrible coaching hires. And Mitch Trubisky started the first 3.5 games. He'll make the same call if he thinks that TJ Watt's not worth coming back. And I mean, if Kenny Pickett's out there and the Steelers are winning, you're going to put TJ Watt out there. But if this season's hopeless, they'll come up with some reason or another to say, "Oh, TJ's not quite ready. TJ's not quite ready. Maybe next week. Maybe next week." I just see that's how this is going to go on, and he hasn't been at practice in a couple of days, which is a little concerning. You're not sure what's going on there. Maybe he just wrapped up early, but there was a time where you were like, TJ Watt looks really good at practice. And now there's a time where you're just like, where is TJ Watt and why is he not out here as heavily as it was? Maybe they need to change this is actually a good point. Didn't think about this one. All right, let's talk about Buffalo. Let's talk about next week. The non-commitment of Kenny Pickett at quarterback against the Buffalo Bills. But first, we got a word from our boys over at Manscaped. Welcome to Fresh Ball Fall. It's the season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping apple cider in a fall breeze and using Manscaped's product to trim your balls with ease. That's right. Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, a company here to make sure that your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves. Heck, even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose the excess clutter for fall. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with our code STEELERS20. Whether you're brand new or already with us at Manscaped, you could use the crown jewel of care for your family jewels, the Platinum Package 4.0. With this glorious package, you can align your entire hygiene routine all in one swoop. Inside the 10-part Platinum Package is everything you know and love about the Performance Package, plus some shower goodies included to elevate your grooming game to platinum. The Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer and Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate parts and holes. Both are waterproof, so you can keep scaping even as the weather's changing. In addition to shaving, you can now completely upgrade your shower routine with the Ultra Premium Body Wash and Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner. You'll have your skin and hair feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. Don't forget to apply their aluminum-free Ultra Premium deodorant, and don't worry, it's not pumpkin spice, it's cologne quality fragrance. But we shouldn't have a signature scent just for our pits. Use Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Preserver ball toner to make sure that your go-to smell is top shelf and not sweaty balls. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Platinum Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag, both specially made to hold your goodies. Get the Platinum Package this fall. These products are guaranteed to be hits for your dangly bits. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with our code STEELERS20. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use our code STEELERS20. Manscaped, clear out the leave. It's time your tree trunk to shine. It's time for your tree trunk to shine. Excuse me on that one. All right, let's get into the Buffalo Bills week 5 on the road. Very tough situation. One many people have already kind of ruled a loss. I think the most concerning thing here is that Mike Tomlin said after the game that he's not committed to a cornerback. He's not going to make that decision just yet, which is ridiculous because for the last 3 weeks, you watched these after game press conferences and it was Mitch was our guy, Mitch was our guy, Mitch was our guy, Mitch was our guy. The offense finally does something and it's, yeah, we'll see what's going on. Do you think that's just Mike Tomlin being kind of a bit of a jerk? Because we all know, Mike Tomlin could be a bit of a jerk. Or do you genuinely think that this is going to be a quarterback competition heading into practice this week?
Yeah, I have to expect it be more of the first thing that you said. You cannot go back to Mitch Trubisky after this. Like what? I don't think you really can. You know what you have in Mitch Trubisky. Like if you're going back to Mitch after yesterday, what are you doing? It's why would you make that switch if you were going to go right back to Mitch Trubisky 2 quarters later? So I think it's just a smokescreen a little bit. He's trying to throw people off maybe a little bit, or maybe he's just being a jerk. But I can't, there's no way in my mind that Mitch Trubisky comes back to play meaningful downs of football for this team again this year. Like I think it's the Kenny Pickett show kind of from here on out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes, that was, and the smokescreen, like, I guess I get it. Like, it's your quarterback. You want it to be a mystery, but like,
right.
You don't think that's going to be discovered in 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like, come on, like how dumb do you think the NFL is that if you're just like, oh, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but Kenny Pickett's talking on Wednesday and all the players are talking about everything they're going to do with Kenny Pickett all week long, that the Buffalo Bills are going to be like, I don't know, maybe it's Mitch Trubisky. Like, no, that's just the NFL's smarter than that. I think it comes down to one thing. So this is what for me made it like 100% you can never go back to Mitch. And it was 2 things. And I kind of want to talk about how Mitch responded because, I give Mason Rudolph a lot of slack on this show. The way Mason Rudolph handles himself as a backup is super professional. Mitch Trubisky was about to cry. He was real angry. He was not professional at all. And I just looked at that situation and went, dude, you're not happy about this. And I understand this, but you did this to yourself. This is nobody else. Like you had opportunities to score more than 6 points and a half. You didn't. Kenny came in here, scored a touchdown on his second drive. Didn't take much, and I think that was ridiculous. But first, Kenny Pickett talked after the game, and for 3 weeks, all you heard after the game was Mitch just like, yeah, we got to stick to the plan. 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 It is what it is, and there was no emotion behind it. None. Kenny Pickett talked for 5 minutes. I clipped 1 minute 30 seconds where he talks about his emotion. Watch this guy stare blankly into nothing the entire time because he is on the verge of flipping the table. That's how angry he is at a loss.
Okay, you got a lot to unpack there in a short period of time. What's the emotions right now?
Just disappointed. Wanted to come in there and get the win. So that's really just the emotion. Just disappointed we didn't come out with the outcome we worked so hard for. Definitely something that we need to learn from and move on.
Time being out there, getting those couple of touchdowns, can you take through the emotions that you felt when you scored those?
I know, guys, that a lot of emotions, but the only thing I'm thinking about is winning out there. So I was just kind of staying in tune with the game and what we needed to do to come out with a win, and that didn't happen. So something that I definitely need to learn from quickly and get it fixed for whenever my next opportunity may come.
Are you surprised? Any inclination that you possibly could be going into this game if things weren't going well?
No, I was never told that. Just coach came in at halftime, said I was going, so just kind of put all the preparation. I prepared like the starter. I spent a lot of time in the facility to get ready, so I felt pretty good while I was in there.
Kenny Tomlin said he made the switch to you because he wanted to give the team a spark. Did you feel you gave him a spark? And could you sense that?
I don't know. I mean, I just played with an edge. I think that was something I wanted to bring to the table. I do not like to lose. This is not a good feeling. I don't want it to be a familiar feeling, so I definitely want to get back out there and get a victory. And get us back on track. So I think it's a little bit of an edge to me. I want that to rub off on everybody. I want us to be have an attitude with us out there on the field. So I'm excited to get back to work and get us back on track.
So, you could take whatever, and it was classic boring answers until that last bit where you like, I don't like to lose. Kind of like there's a little crack in his voice, and you tell like he stared straight ahead the entire time, the entire press conference. And I was just like, all right, this guy's he's got drive. You know, you knew that Kenny is a winner. That was why he got drafted in the first round. But I think that was the first time like it actually hit me.
Yeah. I think you could get those answers from a lot of people, from a lot of quarterbacks around the league. But it's good to hear. It's what you want to hear. He wasn't wrapped up in the emotion of playing his first game or scoring his first touchdown. He was kind of singularly focused, at least in that post game. Yeah, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. I think the 3 picks kind of play into that too. I think if he only threw one of those or 2 of those, maybe he's a little bit more chipper. But yeah, it's exactly what you want to see from the guy who's supposed to give everyone a shot in the arm. I think, like I said earlier, this was a more positive feeling to have after a loss, especially given the way, just kind of given the way the first few weeks have gone, you felt kind of defeated when they lost. This you can spin as kind of hopeful. But yeah, he's it's just exactly what you want to see. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's good. I find it hard to take a whole lot from there. He's an NFL quarterback. I think he knows exactly what to say. But I heard a lot of the same things from Mitch too. We'll see if it actually translates to anything on the field.
See, yeah, I heard a lot of the same things from Mitch, but it was just the attitude that was different. Mitch talks and, he smiles, he looks you in the eyes. He, says the same 4 cliches 10 times in a row, like never once did losing sucks and I want to get rid of this feeling come out of Mitch's mouth in 4 weeks. It was at one point we talked about how he sucked with the Bears and how like it kind of helped that he sucked with the Bears, that he sucks now. And, Kenny, you just never got that. You listen to him and you're like, this guy's pissed. Like, this is not a happy guy sitting up here. And I think, part of it was because he did throw that interception at the end. And, this is somewhat on him and the whole 9. But I don't know, to a degree, I just think that you watch this and if you're Mike Tomlin, you're looking at it going, all right, well, we got a winner. We already knew he was good. Mm-hmm. We have to play him moving forward. Have to. I don't care how hard Buffalo is. You cannot walk into Buffalo when Mitch Trubisky is your starter. You can't walk back into Acrisure Stadium with Mitch as your starter and say, sorry, guys, we're still waiting on Kenny, because the fans, you're going to give up the fans. The stadium was dead. It was dead. It was the most empty I've ever seen it in years. The silence was unreal on defense. There was just nothing to cheer about. It was just a bunch of people there to watch a football game. Kenny comes in, whole thing was different. The whole vibe was different. People were yelling all the time. And I just, football includes the fans and includes everything else. And Kenny brings that. Mitch does not, even if it was the right move, to start Mitch first. It was. Now, here's the question. Do you expect Mitch to be cordial and respectable and sit back and teach Kenny Pickett, or do you expect this to turn into a little beef and Mitch is super pissed that he did not get the starting job or that he got benched?
Well, Mitch has no right to act like that. I mean, look, this is, I don't know, if he acts like that, then I don't know, he kind of will mar the rest of his career. He will make it much more difficult for him to find a different job somewhere else. Any kind of chance he has of making it back to a starting role would probably be really hurt by, acting unprofessionally or acting like a brat, I guess, over these next few weeks while Kenny's in there. I don't know. Like you said, his press conference after the game yesterday was pretty short. He was a little tense.
Yeah, a little tense.
I don't know if that was just he's right after the game. It's emotional. That I'm sure that would happen to anybody, but we'll see. But he won't do himself any favors by acting like, by not being cooperative and not being someone who's team first and thinking about the team. I'll put it that way.
Yep. What stood out to me is he called Mike Tomlin he, and I know that means nothing to anybody, but to me, I was like, players don't call Mike Tomlin he, like they call him Tomlin, Mike, Coach T. Nobody addresses him as he. And Mitch was just like, yep, he made the move and that was it. And you're just like, oh, okay. It's got to be a tough situation. I give it to him. No, it can't be easy to come in here, hope to be the starter, rejuvenate your career, and then boom, you get benched 3 games in. But it's all his fault. Like Mitch did not play well. The offense stunk, and they weren't going to fire an offensive coordinator. So he had an opportunity to make plays. He didn't make them. So that it comes down to that, plain and simple. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. I'm going into the locker room in like 3 hours. And then I'm sure we'll get a little bit more clarity on things, or at least some responses. But when you got guys like Deontay Johnson saying like he brought the energy, you felt it, and Pat Freiermuth saying like he's a gamer, before it was, yeah, we still have faith in Mitch Trubisky. Now it's, we lost, but this dude's for real. And that's just such a change that's all you're looking for. That's all you're looking for. When I'm there, I could ask Kenny on Wednesday. I believe he'll talk about what he said to George. We'll see if he explains it. I saw another thing about how Kenny's calling plays at the line. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what anybody's freedom was, but again, I'm going to stick with the speculation that I think to a degree Mike Sullivan was calling plays in that second half. So we'll see what happens. But all right, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, use our promo code for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. I will be back later today with the stream. I will also be back tomorrow for Tomlin Tuesday with the stream. So make sure you check all that out. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's the Kenny Pickett era. Peace.